This episode contains a reference to suicidal thoughts, which you may find distressing, so please listen with care. Welcome to the Midlife Men podcast with me, Philip Briscoe. In this episode, I'm joined by Ben. He's going to share how years of bullying shaped his life and how running, which was once the source of ridicule, has become the key to rebuilding his confidence, relationships, and his identity. So, welcome, Ben.
Thank you. Hello. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Let's start at the beginning then. What are your earliest memories of being bullied? So how did it all start?
Yes, so my earliest memories of bullying, I had some instances at primary schools, kind of physical bullying, but it wasn't really, that didn't have too much of an impact on me because it wasn't prolonged. It was like one-off incidents, just kids being kids and just being young and kind of not really knowing what they're doing so much at that age and not aware of their actions and probably how they're coming across. It was more so secondary school. Now, when I started secondary school, I had a few things happen really. So it was mainly for the way I ran, and that kind of came about in year 8. So I was friends with someone in my class and we had a good friendship. And then there was one time I was on break with them and I think we were just running around. And when he looked at me, he said the way I ran was like a goose. So when he said that, he kind of followed that up with like actions, kind of imitating what a goose ran like and said, this is what you run like. And he was kind of doing taunts and making noises, obviously as a joke. And I kind of tried to laugh it off initially in the sense that if I laughed it off, he'd just like do it as a one-off and that'd be it. But unfortunately, maybe it made him think that I found it funny. And he kept doing it. And then I did say for him to stop, but he still kept doing it. And then once other people clocked on, in school how it goes, where if someone sees something and people find it funny, they join in. And before long, he got his friends to do it because it was kind of like winding me up, if you like. And it was unsettling me, making me uncomfortable. And I think he got enjoyment from that. And so did everyone else. So I became part of the game from that point, really. And unfortunately, the more people that join in, kind of the harder it is to get away from.
So this was really just, you say, a friend of yours who probably just made a stupid comment and it just kind of escalated, but with quite significant impact, I guess. I mean, how did that start to make you feel, having all these kids kind of taunt you?
I think it just made me feel really alone. As I said, there's like no escape because whoever saw me would then do that taunt at me, having seen it previously. And before long, I wasn't being called Ben, I was being called Goose. And every time someone greeted me, it wasn't, oh, how are you? It was kind of these jokey, as they saw it, goose noises.
Do you think that, so how old are you here? About 14, something like that?
I would have been about 13.
Yeah. I mean, do you think, 13-year-old kids, do you think they realised what they were doing was having, a negative impact on you? Or do you think they were just, following the crowd, being kids? I mean, did you feel it was particularly malevolent or it just got out of hand?
I think initially, when my friend at the time started it, he kind of saw it as a joke. And I don't think he really meant anything by it initially, but when someone tells you to stop because they're not enjoying it or they don't like it, that's when you stop. So for me, the moment they've gone past that is the moment they had the chance to stop and they know they should have stopped and they didn't. So I feel like they were aware of what they were doing, as were the people around them, because it would upset me. I'd kind of try and like get away and they'd follow me and things like that. So if someone's walking away from something, it shows like they don't want to be there. And I'm not being funny. When you're 13, you should be able to read those signals.
So that sounds like a pretty miserable existence then. Did you tell anyone? Did you tell any, responsible adult, teacher or at home?
No. So I could have maybe approached a teacher about it potentially at the early stages, when there were less people involved. But at the end of the day, the more you kind of leave it and kind of let it linger, the more people get involved, the more fearful you become of approaching someone about it, because you feel like whoever you tell, once they've clocked on, there's too many people involved. So even though it might stop one person from doing it, you've then got a group, and it's not easy to stop a group of people doing it. So I think it's something you have to tackle straight away. And unfortunately, I didn't, because I thought it was going to go away at some point or they'd get bored. But unfortunately, they never did.
And you were a child yourself. You weren't equipped to even rationally look at how to manage this. That wasn't in your capability at that point.
No, I mean, for me, even like you mentioned, like did I go home and speak to anyone about it? My mum was like suffering, and she does suffer with like anxiety from time to time. So I don't want to kind of bring those troubles home and make her anxieties worse. So because of that, I kind of took it all on myself. And yeah, I didn't really have like an outlet as such, because although I would have liked to have had a friend to talk about it with, I think when you're being bullied, it's hard to make friends at school, because people don't want to be friends with the person being bullied, because they fear that they're going to become part of the group that are going to then be bullied. So yeah, it was quite lonely for me, and I had to deal with it myself. And in terms of dealing with it, I didn't really know how to. I mean, I was an only child as well growing up, so it's not like I had someone to go home and confide in. So I just, I was lost.
Carried it alone. What sort of, you're kind of in your teens, early teens, what sort of impact do you think that had, looking back now, on you developing into an older teenager, into a young person?
I think it had like a massive impact on me. And I'm going to kind of reference another example of bullying, because it all kind of like adds in. So alongside the kind of bullying for the way I was running, I had quite a few spots as a teenager as well. So it was something I was conscious about. And again, it was something that was kind of pulled up by kids at school. And even something like I kind of broke my nose at school, and it kind of changed the way I was breathing, and I'd do mouth breathing. And I'd have people kind of imitate the way I was breathing and all things like that. Again, like I had people, I'd be eating lunch, trying to get away from situations, and they'd take the lunch out my hands and knock it on the floor and things like that. So all of these things, all of these bullying experiences for me growing up into my teenage years, if it was one bullying incident, maybe I could have like dealt with it better. But that when you're being picked apart for so many things, it knocks your confidence in more than one way, and you feel that you can't. Yeah, you feel like there's nothing that's good about yourself. It completely destroys your confidence. Everything I thought, okay, and they don't see me, like maybe I look differently or something, or breathe differently or something. But when you're running, and this is something you enjoy and something you're confident in, and that gets knocked from you as well, like you become helpless and you kind of go within yourself.
So this sounds really, really, really tough. At what point did you, how long did this go on for? And did they get to a point where you thought, I need to do something?
It just carried on and on. I mean, it started probably like around year 8 time. I left school in year 11. It carried on throughout those times, and it never showed any signs of stopping. It was 24/7 on like the bus to school, on the bus home from school. I'd kind of get home, and once I'd got home, I'd kind of lock myself away. I wouldn't want to go outside in case someone saw me. So I never really went outside. I'd play on my PlayStation, just because that was my safe place, and my family was my safe place.
What did you do post school? So assuming you're not getting this daily bullying, how did you move forward then?
For me, it affected my kind of trust in people going forward. It kind of made me more judgmental of people, because I was just like scared, I guess. I was scared that, I had a friendship, and that friendship went, and those people were against me. So it made me scared to approach friendship situations, and especially like big groups. That was really hard for me, because I'd feel like it didn't matter how many people were in that room. It could be 30 people. I'd feel like so alone. I'd feel like the loneliest person in the room. So, I mean, it did impact me in terms of kind of making connections with people and things like that. I just didn't really know how to approach people. I kind of withdrew myself away from situations. People would ask if I wanted to hang out with them when I started working, and I didn't. I was still kind of scared then of bumping into people from school.
So you were struggling, I guess. Did you feel like you had a real identity, or did you feel like you were just still living in the shadow of, of the bullying?
Yeah, I mean, I was living in the shadow of the bullying. I lost myself. I didn't have any confidence. I didn't really know what I wanted from life. For me, I was living without a purpose. And I remember kind of, a time at school where I kind of came home and I thought, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this anymore. And I remember like taking like a knife from the drawer and kind of putting it against myself and thinking like I don't have to go on with this. But in those situations, what's important to me is that you remember the people that are there for you. And, I'm so grateful that I always felt the love of my family, and I'm here and I've lived on because of the love because of how they've made me feel in terms of what I mean to them.
So you're working now, and, when we talked before, you said that you had a relationship and you bought a house. Did life start to seem a bit different then? Did you feel like you're a bit more, you're starting to heal a bit?
It did. I mean, because despite like the working situation, and it was hard at the beginning, but I think as soon as I put myself in that working environment and things like that, I did start to build confidence, because I think people are more mature, and you can kind of, I started to feel a bit more like myself again. And I felt like I could kind of, the longer it went on, since I'd left school, the more I felt like I could kind of put myself out there, because people would have grown up and forgotten things and situations like that. So I kind of wanted to meet someone because of the feeling of being alone and things like that. And I just wanted someone to share life with and things like that. So I started put myself on dating websites, and I did meet someone on there. And I think when I met them, it kind of gives you a feeling of someone's accepted you for you. Like, as they've seen you, they've taken you as you are, and they've kind of loved you as you are. So from the moment that happened, I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. Like, regardless of the bullying, or if anyone saw me, I'd still have someone who appreciated me for me, if that makes sense.
You were starting to feel, I guess, less anxious, maybe less depressed. You're in a relationship. I think you said you bought a house together. So I guess life was looking bit better than it had been. And then what happened?
So it was good. Like but like you said, we bought a house together, and it was kind of nice. It felt like my life was being rebuilt. And we had a great time, but unfortunately, like we ended up splitting up during the times of COVID, and as a result of that, I was furloughed from work at the time, and I obviously lost the relationship, and the first house we bought together, unfortunately, we lost that as well. So I just completely lost myself again, and I just, again, felt really alone, because I had that stability. I found that stability that I was searching for throughout my childhood, and all of a sudden that wasn't there. So it's like, and I found it really hard, because at the time when I was in the relationship, and from the inside lens, I thought to myself that if I was given my best, which I thought I was at the time, and it's resulted in breaking up, then what can I do? If people aren't accepting the best of me, then who am I? And it made me question myself and my self-worth and everything like that. So that was a very lonely time for me again, because I always said when I came through bullying, I could come through anything, but that was a situation I wasn't expecting happening. And you kind of have to yeah, dust yourself up and go again. But it was a really hard thing to do.
Do you think the experiences you had, growing up, meant that you didn't really have a kind of stable, foundation to deal with anything else happening in your life, anything else, difficult that happened, and then you sunk back down? Did you feel that was? Did you make that connection?
I think, I mean, I think you find yourself spending so long trying to kind of get rid of one difficult time in your life and kind of working your way past that, and then you kind of have that high, I guess, if you like, of like it's I'm not having the bullying anymore, and I'm kind of free from that, and I've got my new life. But I don't think I expected, as much as I kind of lost a friend in the sense of when the bullying happened, I didn't expect to kind of lose a partner after like 6 years, because you've built that kind of confidence in that time, and kind of trust and loyalty and love for each other. And it just so happened that things didn't work out. But yeah, it's something I couldn't have prepared myself for. It's just it's nothing. It wasn't anyone else's like wrongdoing. No one done anything wrong. It was just the way it worked out. But I just couldn't pick myself up after that. I really did struggle.
So you're running, and this is helping you reestablish your confidence. Help with your sense of identity. But I know when we spoke before, you said that even out running, training, some of the people that bullied you, you saw you and still, tried to taunt you. But how did you feel now? How did you respond to that now?
So it was a couple of years after I had left school and I was out for a run, and then I had a car drive past me, and the windows came down, and it was kids from school, and they put their head out the window and they started doing these goose taunts and chants and trying to imitate me and things like that again, as they'd done at school. But as they were doing those things, even though I was aware of them there, that I kept running, and I kind of like smiled with it, because in a sense I felt like, it's 2 years on, and this is something you were bullying me for, and I haven't given up. I'm still keeping on going, and I've got further forward through not giving up, but yet you're the same people. And when I had that realization as they were like making these taunts at me, it made me feel stronger in myself, and I kept running. And do you know what? A point that would have like crumbled me and weakened me before, I felt that I was building strength from. So from that moment, it was like whatever they said or whatever they done, I'm a different person now. I'm not like Goose or whatever you called me. I'm like Ben the runner, the one who hasn't been stopped from doing what he loved because of you. He's still doing it, and he's got goals to do more through running, whilst you're still going around in the same circle. So for me, it was a nice moment in the sense that, I felt that I developed as a person, and I was a stronger person. I didn't feel any weakness in that moment. I didn't feel hurt. I just felt confident and untroubled by it. And from that moment, I thought, if anyone bullies me again, this is the moment that I know that there is an end.
That's all right. So basically, you almost owned the taunting now through running, and especially because that was what started the bullying, and that gave you your strength and power. And then eventually you went on to complete your first marathon then. So what did that mean to you?
I think it meant everything to me, because I had that goal, obviously, when I was younger, to run that marathon as a response to the bullies, as a way of showing that regardless of what they're going to say or do at that moment in time, I'm going to go and do something better, and I'm going to do something with running. And so for me, when I ran a marathon, something I was bullied for, it was like almost crossing a finish line of not just my first marathon, but a finish line of all those years of hurt when people tried to put me down or stop me from being myself. So yeah, it was 2 finishing lines rather than one.
So you are attributing then your discovery of joy running as a big part of your recovery then?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah. If it wasn't for running, I don't know where I would have found my purpose. Running was just something I felt that it's a weird thing. So you kind of, when you're running, you kind of run like with your problems at the beginning. You're almost like running away from the problems at the same time. So it just slows down your thought process. When you're stuck under the same roof and you're overthinking the problems, it's like a difficult place to be. It's a dangerous place to be. But when things slow down for you and you've got more headspace, you've got less heightened emotions for a start. So you think more. Yeah, it just gives you more space to think.
So you carried on with your running, you completed a marathon, and then I know you've gone on to get married and continued your, love of running. So tell us how you then got to the challenge, 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 countries. What was behind that?
So the want for doing 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 countries, I hit a point with my running where I kind of didn't really have the motivation to do it anymore. I'd accomplished that marathon and I thought, what's bigger than a marathon that I could do? So I had lots of thoughts go through my mind and I took a couple of years off and I thought, how about if I challenge myself to do 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 countries? Something that kind of is a dream that scares me because I don't know if I can do it. So the reason behind doing it was to kind of like scare myself, and to kind of keep developing, as a runner and as a person, to kind of build up that resilience. Like, how far can I go? Like, how much can I push myself? And yeah, that's where it all kind of like stemmed from, that want to better myself.
So you did it. I think you raised some money, didn't you, for different charities, for bullying charities, or children's charities?
So it was. So I was raising money for Bright Young Dreams. They're a campaign in Sheffield, and they basically support and they fundraise for Sheffield Children's Hospital Charity. And it's all regarding the children's mental health services and improving the facilities and all like the clinical advancements and the training and things like that. So it impacts the people that were kind of in my situation, that kind of like needed that mental health support. It kind of gives them something I didn't have. So it's important for me to build those foundations for others, having not had them myself, because I just obviously didn't speak out about it at the time. But I want to make sure that people have as much support as they can, having gone through what I did.
So tell us about the challenge itself. I mean, it sounds incredible. How did you even manage the logistics running a different marathon in a different country, on during 7 days?
I think the logistics were always going to be hard, flying from one country to the next and getting trains in between and things like that. But because you can't really rely on transport so much these days. But luckily, all of that worked out for me. But in terms of the challenge itself with the runs, it was obviously, I knew what it was like to run 1 marathon, but I didn't know what it was like to run 7. But in my training, I kind of ran a few 20 miles in a row. So I kind of knew that I was feeling good and I could do more. But yeah, it was a challenge. Like, after every marathon, in every marathon, they say you hit a wall at 20 miles. And in every of those 7 marathons, I hit a wall at 20 miles. But it was, I think, unfortunately on the first day, I actually fell over and broke one of my ribs. But kind of what kept me going is again, I kind of related back to my childhood and like the pain I went through and the hurt I went through. And I wanted to kind of keep going. And for me, that kind of shows people being bullied now that, regardless of how much you go through in life, you'll find you don't realize how much strength you're building in that moment. And there's strength on the other side of your struggles. So I was running for me, but I was running for loads of people. And I think when you're running for something other than yourself, it gives you an extra drive. So, I mean, it was hard. I would pick up injuries on most of the runs and lose toenails and all things like that. But yeah, I kept going and I wasn't going to be deterred by it.
So, I mean, it's less than a month since you did this. So you must still be on a massive high. I mean, how do you feel now as a person, especially going through, because you're only 29, you've packed a lot in. How do you feel right now, having achieved that amazing, amazing feat?
I just feel really accomplished as like a person. I feel like I've kind of achieved more than I ever thought I would have envisaged of myself. Going through the times that I did, you don't ever envisage yourself having such highs. So to have those highs, it's like I think I've like outdone myself in a sense. I'm like really proud of where I've got to, and yeah, for me, I just feel like it's going to be hard to top that feeling of having run 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 countries.
What's next? What are you going to do now?
I have thought about it. I mean, I did say afterwards to my wife that I'm probably not going to run anymore because, I don't want to get injured and things like that. But now some of the injuries are healing up, I'm thinking of, I am. My mind is going around in circles of what I could do next, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm on I've run 9 marathons now technically, and there's always that I want to hit the double digits. So maybe one more marathon, and we'll see where we go from there.
So looking back, what would you say now to the boy who was bullied for the way that he ran?
I would just say to the younger me's and to my younger self to keep being you, and don't let anyone stop you from being you. At the end of the day, as much as people can say stuff about you and to you, you can create the visualization of your dreams, and at the end of the day, no one else can stop you from getting to that destination for as long as you keep that in your mind and in your heart, and you have that visualization. Then you can achieve anything you want to. It's just believing in yourself and never losing track of the goal, regardless of those around you. Just stay focused as best as you can, and know that there is good things out there for you, and no one can stop you from getting to those good places.
And if someone's listening to this and struggling, maybe they've been through a similar experience to you, or maybe something else, what's one step in your experience? What's one step they could take today, just to kind of start taking control, regaining their confidence?
I think for me, you've said the word there in itself, like confidence. You need to find something that gives you confidence, that you need to find a strength that you can play to, a strength that you can hold. And whether that's going out for 5 minutes for a walk each day, whether that's painting something or doing like a little project or writing something, baking something, they're all little steps that kind of give you a reason, give you a purpose for that day. And it just keeps you going. It just makes you get up in the morning, and the more you once you've done those things and you'll see yourself that you're like succeeding in doing those things, it will make you want to do more from yourself as well. But you've got to find a place to start.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ben. Thanks so much for sharing your experience and being so honest with us. Massive congratulations for not only the incredible 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 countries, but just really and the person you've become now, because it must have been pretty dreadful during your school years. But thanks very much for coming on.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I really do. So thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Midlife Men podcast with me, Philip Briscoe. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts, there are organisations you can call now. For example, in the UK, you can call the Samaritans on 116 123. In the US, you can call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And in Australia, call Lifeline on 131114. As always, the advice is to speak to a GP or a mental health professional. You can find out more about Ben's amazing achievement and the Sheffield Children's Hospital charity, and Bright Young Dreams, which is the children's mental health campaign that he ran for, on his Just Giving page. So search for 7 marathons in 7 days for Bright Young Dream. To help raise the profile of the podcast, it really helps if you can review the show for me and also share it with your networks. Finally, if you've got a story you'd like to share, then do contact me through the website mid-lifemen.com.